Hi, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Politics with Sherry Jacobus. Thank you for subscribing. And if you're not yet subscribed, I hope you'll do so. A little more on Charlie Kirk, on the Charlie Kirk shooting. There are some things that don't add up. I think Kash Patel has blown his credibility to the degree that he ever had any. The fact that they had apprehended somebody yesterday and then had to, of course, let them go. And now they're claiming that they found the gun and a palm print and some shoe prints or something in the woods. And then right-wing people are saying, that officials have told them, because that's what officials do. They go, ATF officials go to right-wing podcasters first, and that there were messages about, trans stuff, ridiculous stuff. First of all, this was clearly a very experienced, talented sharpshooter. There were reports that the shot came from 200 yards away. Others say it's more like 500. Dr. Jeffrey Grammer, who is a psychiatrist and a decorated retired Army colonel, noted in reply to one of my tweets yesterday that, it'd be a sharpshooter, but because I was saying it looked professional. He said an angry person would do more than one shot. This was one shot and a very clean shot. So when you look at the chatter from people, just normal people looking at it, but also experts, this appears to have been a professional hit, not just some crazed, angry person doing some wild, political killing. If it's professional, they don't leave a gun behind. They also would have been caught. If it's not professional, they would have been caught right away. This person, what I'm saying is we cannot discount the possibility that the gun was planted in the woods. I don't even know how to talk about some of this stuff because it's so delicate, but we are 10 years into the era of Trump, and you can't just call everything a conspiracy theory when there is evidence. And I'm not saying for sure that Trump was involved in this, but I do think we have to follow that path because there is enough there. He is capable of doing this, in my view. When you look at what he's always done and what he's gotten away with, it's our fault for thinking, oh, nobody could do that. Things that seem too horrible to normal people, that's how really seriously evil people get away with what they do. If you think that January 6th was Trump's first rodeo and his only rodeo, I think that's naive. And if you're going to discount any suggestion otherwise as a conspiracy theory, then that is irresponsible. Okay? I've been with the FBI a little bit when they were investigating when I was hacked and then catfished and a few other things. Remember when I came out against Trump and was suing him? Yeah. So I have a little bit of experience with this. The FBI does not write anything off as a conspiracy theory. They follow, they connect the dots and they go down a path. Even if it's a path they know they need to be going down to, they go down. And then if they run out of road, then they go down another one. But they never say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. And so if you're a smart person and if you want to be responsible, I think you do have to consider some of this stuff. And then if you hit a dead end, don't say, oh, I was wrong. See, it was just a conspiracy theory and feel bad about it. I think we have to be a little more sophisticated than that. But I am looking at the fact that this seemed like a professional hit, and people are saying as much. There's also the case of the two guys behind Kirk on the stage doing what appear to be baseball signals. Somebody said that the one guy with the phone and the white shirt, he did something, and the guy next to him was a little more blatant. And they're saying that that's like strike or something. I don't know what it means. So I don't want to speculate too much, but they appear to be baseball signals. That is extremely odd. And when something stands out like that is so off kilter, even if you don't right away know what it means, you have to include it, put it up there on the board because it might make sense eventually. Now, here's the other thing. While Charlie Kirk certainly had influence, he was not an important enough figure for such a sophisticated hit job, say from a foreign entity. People say, oh, well, on Israel, no. if they were going to make a point, they go bigger than Charlie Kirk. You don't go to that much trouble with that professional hit, that professional level of a hit, for somebody who's relatively small potatoes. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't influential. He was, but not to warrant something that big. And so that's why you cannot discount that this was done as an inside job, that this wasn't done to distract. And if there was somebody who needed to be a sacrificial lamb in order to distract from the Epstein files or to launch this much desired civil war that Trump wants so badly and is trying to instigate, you know, if there's a menu of people who are expendable, you might pick the one that you're kind of the most angry at because he's come out against you on the Epstein file stuff. So you cannot discount this stuff. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm not convinced of it. But there's enough there where you have to put that on the table for consideration. And what I'm frustrated with is we are still 10 years into this with everything Trump has done. We're still so gullible that if we can't understand it, or if there's nobody in our lives that we're close to that we think are capable of something like that, like is capable of something like this, we just assume it can't happen. So I'm going to suggest that you wipe away all the emotion from it, anger or excitement to jump at what you think is a conspiracy theory. You don't want to jump to conclusions. I used to teach political communication strategy at George Washington University Graduate School of Political Management. And the first thing you do when you're putting together a campaign strategy is you get your raw data. You do your research. You don't jump to conclusions. And some of it might be garbage, it might not, but you put it all up there on the board first before you're in a position to put together your strategy. Now, I know like with the FBI, what they do is they kind of work backwards on this stuff. And what we tend to do is lay people's go, oh, that's ridiculous. That can't be true. So we discount it. And we shouldn't. We shouldn't discount everything. Now, some of the stuff is going to go nowhere and might be a little crazy. But you don't know that right away. So we owe it to ourselves to follow the logical steps and connect dots. And if they keep connecting, you keep going down that path. And that's why I do get there are people out there doing crazy conspiracy theories that don't mean anything. And you can tell if you try and connect dots and you end after, 2 dots. But you have to look at who benefits from this situation. And I think it's clear that this was not some left-wing person just out with some vendetta to go after Charlie Kirk, even though Charlie Kirk has said incredibly horrible, dangerous, harmful, bigoted things. I still don't think it rises to that level. And if it were that type of a target, it wouldn't be that professional. And it wouldn't be just one kill shot, as Dr. Grammer has said. So I think we're kind of settling on the fact that this was very professional, very professionally done. We also know that Kash Patel and Trump's FBI cannot be trusted. And here's another clincher. The Utah FBI, that field office, and the guy and the agent, the person who ran it, Kash Patel was forced to fire them just a few weeks ago, or he was going to lose his job. Why would Trump be forcing Kash Patel to fire that Utah field office agents and person who ran it? Why that? I mean, I know they did a lot of firing, but I'm just putting it out there, okay? You cannot discount this stuff. No, I'm not drawing conclusions, but I will not discount the very real possibility that Trump was behind this. Look what he did. Look what he did on January 6th. Look at the very legitimate speculation that his own Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt was staged, because none of that adds up either. And you know it. And you know it. Getting conclusive proof is another thing, but I don't think that we should tell ourselves and everybody else that we're not allowed to connect the dots and speculate and wonder unless and until we have conclusive proof. I think that would be very irresponsible of us. We should be learning our lesson by now. It's been 10 years where Trump has been getting away with this stuff. Actually, he's been getting away with it a lot longer in his life. So I'm going to say it again. Do you really think that January 6th was the first time that Trump did something this horrible and huge? And do you think it was the last time? I think the obvious answer to that is no. Trump has been doing stuff like this his entire life. There has been speculation swirling around some pretty bad stuff for years, long before he was president. We have to accept that. We must accept that. So I'm just, I think it's fine to warn people to put the brakes on if they're going too far with this stuff, if it's too much hyperbole. But I think we're doing ourselves a great and dangerous disservice if we don't put this stuff up there in a calm and reasonable and rational manner. Put it up on the board to look at it and keep it there. And more stuff will be added. But based on the level of professionalism of this operation and what we know Trump is capable of, I am not willing to believe that what was found, allegedly found in the woods, was legitimate, because that would not be professional. You don't leave paw prints. And apparently they're saying they can tell it's a college age person. No, they can't. That's another thing. When they start putting out irresponsible information like that, you cannot tell from a palm print, if you actually have one, or a footprint, the age of the person. It sounds a little bit too neat and convenient for Kash Patel and the FBI to be creating a scenario that fits a little bit too neatly into this narrative that this was a left-wing, hater. It wasn't. And I think we all knew that in our gut from the beginning. The minute it came out that this was clearly a professional kind of sharpshooter type of situation, you kind of knew there's a lot more to this. So I urge you to be open-minded and responsible and consider all of this stuff. Again, be like an FBI agent, at least the FBI we used to have, or a strategist. Put it up on the board. Ask yourself, who benefits from something like this? And people say maybe it was Israel again. No. If some of these other entities that are being, people are wondering if they're behind it, if they wanted to make that kind of a point, they'd go for a bigger target than Charlie Kirk. Sorry, folks. Yes, he was influential, but no, he wasn't that big of a deal. It's been suggested too that, but he was an easy target out there in the open with 3,000 people. That's something to consider as well. But a lot of Trump critics, you can find them anywhere. And if Charlie's been a critic on the Epstein files and has wanted them to be released, again, that might have made he might have made the cut that way. But if it's a situation where they needed a sacrificial lamb to coalesce the MAGA base and pull them back together behind Trump, and Trump wants his civil war, and they needed a distraction from Epstein, it would be that. But that makes more sense why Charlie Kirk would be targeted than any of the other theories that are floating around out there. His position on Israel, even the fact that, just because he wants the Epstein files released, that doesn't make sense. Nor does some left-wing madman, because again, this was just a little bit too neat, too clean, too professional, a perfect one-shot kill shot. That's not a crazed left-wing madman. Just saying.